and also the lessons learned must shape our policy decisions. Defence innovation has to become a political priority. Then we discussed Ukraine. We had Minister Fyodorov joining with us, and also NATO Deputy Secretary General Shekerinska. Ukraine will receive the first disbursement of the 90 billion loan already in June, and these funds will go directly to drones, which are the key capability in pushing back Russian forces at the moment. At the same time, it is clear that although the 90 billion loan is there, the bilateral support must continue. The same goes for more sanctions, more pressure on Russia. Ministers discussed also the 6.6 billion euro that is blocked in the in addition, and the ministers were discussing how that could be. We are currently looking into new EU mission to help to strengthen the state control in Lebanon. The stronger we make Lebanese army, the weaker we make Hezbollah. And finally, we had discussion on the defense readiness. Russia is gearing up for a long-term confrontation with the West. Tanks and missiles are pretty much the only thing that Russia's economy is producing right now. Whether Putin dares to test European defenses is really dependent on us. Deterrence works if it is credible. Showing weakness only invites aggression. Member states have put a lot of funding on the table, but defense industry production in Europe is still not ramped up. So we need faster arms production, also cheaper and rapid delivery to close those capability gaps. We also had the defense industry representative present, so we were able to discuss with them as well. Ministers stressed that the industry needs to deliver in time and with volume, and also the industry representatives were then explaining what is hindering them from ramping up. And then we had discussion of the next steps, how to speed up this effort. With that, I take your questions.
Thank you. We start with Stefan.
Yes, thank you, Stefan. Is at your table. On Article 42.7, was it discussed today? And what are the scenarios actually under discussion also among the ambassadors? I know there were some exercises or simulations on this. And what, if you could say, what the next steps are, what the time frame is? Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. No, the 42.7 was not discussed today because we will have a discussion in the informal meeting of defense ministers. You rightly pointed out that we had the tabletop exercise for the BSC ambassadors to really identify the gaps. But before that, we also actually mapped all what could be done on the 42.7. So basically 3 scenarios. One scenario when Article 42.7 is triggered together with Article 5. So who does what really, how these two tracks complement each other. Then the other scenario is when you have member state that is not part of NATO, so it's only Article 42.7, what could be done then. And then the third is when it is below the threshold, so it's hybrid attacks and threats like this, what could be done, what are the tools that are in the toolbox of the Commission, of the External Action Service, of the member states, and how does it work. But so we will have deeper discussions in Cyprus when we have the informal meeting of the ministers. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mattia.
Hello, hi Rep. Mattia Bagnoli, ANSA. 2 things. One is you said that you are going to keep talking about Aspides, the wheeling. The wheeling call. I would like to know what level is that? Is defense ministers and secondly, what role Aspides could play within the coalition of the wheeling operation in Hormuz is going to be in addition is it's member states could contribute to both, or it's something you pick and choose. Either I do one way or I do the other. How could that work? Thank you.
Thank you. We had very good discussions over the Operation Aspides today. So, as I said, it's a naval operation that is already in the region, and it's also the area of operation is also covering so that we only need to change the operational plan. But what it needs is more vessels, more ships. And of course, there were also member states today actually saying that they will contribute with more ships to this operation. So, it's the fastest way to move forward. We have the call of the Coalition of the Willing, and that is defense ministers level this time. And it's clearly the Operation Aspides could also contribute to the Coalition of the Willing. So if the idea of the Coalition of the Willing is to have, more countries also joining from outside, then, we could contribute as one Europe with the operations that we already have. Because, if you have, we have small member states. So if you have a member state that only has one ship, you can't give it to, different initiatives. But I think that, if we operate together under Operation Aspides, that could be our contribution also to the Coalition of the Willing as Europe. And I really think that this is the way we could do it, the fastest way we could do it, and also the way we could make Europe really strong in the region, but also strong geopolitically, because also our contribution then is much bigger if we do it together. Because my favorite quote of Europe only having small countries and those countries who haven't realized that they are small countries yet. So doing it together, we are a force.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Here.
Sachio from NHK, the Japanese public TV station. Thank you. Just to follow up on the Strait of Hormuz, some countries are indicating that they will be pre-positioning ships near the region. Do you think the EU could take part in this pre-positioning? And also on Ukraine, since President Putin says that he thinks the war is coming to an end, do you think the EU is ready to provide all the security guarantees necessary to Ukraine in a scenario of a ceasefire starting soon? Thank you.
Thank you. First, on the Strait of Hormuz, our Operation Aspides is already in the region. So, currently operating in the Red Sea, but the operational area is much wider. But it doesn't have enough ships right now. So the member states are putting their contributions to the Operation Aspides. Then we can also have, more ships and really to escort. And also, if we need to change the mandate to also cover the demining activities, then we can also do that. On your second question, Putin can end this war immediately if he just stops bombing civilian infrastructure and withdraws its troops. It's that easy. But what his statement really shows is that he's not in a strong position. So I think there's an opportunity for ending this war. Of course, the security guarantees that we need to see is also we need to see concessions from the Russian side, because they are always the ones who are attacking their neighbors. How we can make sure that we don't only have a ceasefire or a truce that would give them possibility to regroup and get their army in a better shape than it is right now, and then to go on attacking. But it would be sustainable and lasting peace that they would refrain from attacking other countries. And that's why we have the discussion with the foreign ministers coming up of what kind of concessions we need to see from the Russian side. It's coming up already at the end of May.
Mm-hmm. Valeria.
Valeria Peskova, public broadcaster of Ukraine. It's on Ukraine. Washington Post reports that the EU allies are concerned about the viability of the Pearl, the U.S. arms supply initiative to Ukraine. Since you had an exchange with the Ukrainian minister and Radmila Shkrinska, Deputy Secretary General of NATO, Can you please confirm that the EU allies are concerned about that? And if you can share more, if the EU is ready to replace some key weapons that US delivered to Ukraine, selling actually to Ukraine lately? Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, there was such concern, but the Deputy Secretary General of NATO said that the Pearl is functioning, delivering, and there is no reason for concern. So I stick to her word. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Olivier.
Thank you, Olivier Beau from AFP. You said this morning the defense industry is not ramping up their production, so we need to see what is the problem. But after 4 years of war in Ukraine, you had many, many opportunities to talk to the industry and the member states. So, and you had an opportunity even today meeting the CEO of Saab. So have you finally found the problem, and are you in a position to solve it, apart of putting more money on the table, which doesn't seem to work very well?
Yes, I share your frustration because I have this same feeling. Somehow we haven't seen the industry ramping up as we would have expected. And of course, some things have gone better. I mean, the industry was also showing how much they have actually increased their production when it comes to ammunition, when it comes to air defense, when it comes to critical capabilities. The problem is just that the needs have also grown by the member states. And some of the things we already know, we are working on them, and some of the things that clearly we need to, develop further. I mean, one of the things, I bring you one example that was raised today and really needs to move faster is the procurement directive. Many were raising this, the clear rules, because the industry was saying also you have different rules everywhere and it's hard to operate. Also the standards, every member state is tweaking things a bit, so everybody has different orders. You can't really produce in line like this. But I mean, on the positive side, we have done a lot, and we have managed to solve some of the issues. But still, there's a lot to do. So, I share your frustration.
Mm-hmm. David. So we have last two, David, and then we take Chris for the final one.
Thank you. David Carretta, Radio Radicale, Italian Radio, and the newsletter La Matinale Européenne. On Ukraine, have you discussed the issue of burden sharing among member states, since we are hearing that the 60 billion of the loans will not be enough to support military for the next 2 years? And could European Peace Facility play a role now that one of the obstacles have been removed by democracy? And a second question, if I may, on Article 42.7. There is a fourth scenario, which is not so hypothetical. It was not so hypothetical in January. It's NATO member states attacking a European NATO member states and member of the European Union. Why this scenario is not among the three you are discussing? Thank you.
First, the burden sharing issue comes up every time. So, of course, those member states who are really contributing more are raising this every single time. And if we look at the numbers, it's clear the burden is not equally shared. So today, again, EPF could play a role and is actually there. 6.6 billion has been